Greetings, class, and welcome to CST-158 Contemporary Operating Systems. I am your professor, Dr. Brandon Brown, and in today's recording, we're going to go over Lab 1, which is the server installations that you will be using for the rest of this course. Now, unfortunately, you cannot do this in NetLab, but what we will show you is how to do it with VirtualBox. The assignment or the lab manual shows you how to do it through VMware. So if you download VMware and you're using that as a trial, it's perfectly fine. You can use it that way. I'm going to show you how to use VirtualBox because a lot of you may not want to use VMware. You might, just want to use a freeware version of something. That's fine. Let me go ahead and get set up, and I'll be right back with you to show you how to do that. Okay, so there's a couple of things that we're going to need before we can do Lab 1 or Lab 2. First, we're going to need the VirtualBox software. Second, we're going to need an ISO for a Windows operating system. In this case, it will be Server 2019. And we're also going to need the same thing, an ISO, for a either Red Hat Enterprise Linux or Fedora Linux. I'm going to go with Fedora Linux as it is kind of like the freeware version of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and it's easy to get to. So let me share my screen. And you'll see here, I've done a Google search on VirtualBox, and that will take me to an ad and a link here for Oracle VM VirtualBox. We're going to click on that. We're going to get to grab the latest version. So we're going to go to downloads and pick your poison, whichever operating system that you are currently using. I am using Windows 10. So I'm going to go ahead and select the one for Windows host, but if you are using Mac, you would select the one for OS X hosts. And if you are by chance using some sort of Linux distribution, Ubuntu, Debian, Mint, etc., you would pick the Linux distributions. So click on that, and that's going to download. It'll be really fast to download. It will show up in my downloads. I actually downloaded it the other day, so it's there. All right, and we're just going to install this like we would install any other program. I'm going to install it as administrator, so I'm going to right click and run as administrator. Click the yes box, and pretty much it's all the defaults. Next, except for here, I don't want to have all of these things done. I don't want a quick launch bar. I'm just going to do this start menu entry, and I'm going to click next, and yes, and install. And this thing installs pretty quickly. While that's installing, let's go ahead and find our Windows ISO. So go back to Google and do a search on Windows Server 2019 ISO download. Windows Server 2019 ISO download. And it should be like the third one down, second or third one down. Okay, Windows Server 2019. And you're going to get started for free. Download the ISO. Click on that. You will fill out all this stuff here. You can give it bogus names, fake email addresses. It really doesn't matter. All right, when you're all said and done, go ahead and click download. When that saves, go ahead and save it to some place that you're going to be able to find it. It's going to look something like this, some really long, crazy, unintelligible name. That's okay. All right. Next, we're going to grab the Fedora file. So go back to Google. Fedora Server download is what you're going to search for. Download Fedora Server. It's that very top link. And then you're going to download Fedora 36 Server. You want the standard ISO image for x86. All right. You don't want the net install. Go ahead and grab the standard image. Click download. And it should download and look something like this: Fedora Server DVD x86 36 1.5 is the current version that I'm working with. Your version may be different. It may be updated. That's okay. All right. So make sure you have all those files. You want to put them all in one location. Perfectly fine. After you have VirtualBox installed, you will go ahead and click finish and it will pop up. So now let's go ahead and go to our lab manual, which I'm going to be using lab 1. Where's lab 1? Lab 1. All right. So we are going to create a topology similar to this. All right. The virtual software I'm using is VirtualBox. I'm going to create 3 VMs. Okay. Now, this is the ideal IP addressing scheme. If your IP addressing scheme changes, which in my case, it will change for VirtualBox. And since I run VMware and VirtualBox on my same computer, I want it to change. I don't want it to be this way. It'll show up like a 10 network instead of a 192 network. That's okay. Just make note of it. What you're going to want to do is just make sure that you address these servers so that the last octet, that last number, correlates to these 2 servers. The third one, the Windows Server 2, which is going to be getting a DHCP address, it can get whatever DHCP address it gets. That's perfectly fine. All right. The IP gateway may or may not change. It may be .1 or it may be .2. That's okay. Just kind of keep an eye on it. We may have to tweak it a little bit in order to make it work. And we're going to try to keep the DNS servers the same across all of the servers. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a VM shell. And this is the process to do it via VMware Workstation. I'm going to go ahead and create all 3 VM shells that we're going to need in VirtualBox. All right, so I'm going to create 2 Windows shells. I'm going to create 1 Linux VM shell. And that's going to take us a good way through to right about here when we're ready to start installing Windows. Sorry for the dog noises in the background. All right, so in VirtualBox, what you're going to do is you're going to click Add. I'm sorry, excuse me. We're going to click New. My fault. All right, so we're going to click a new virtual, create a new virtual machine. We're going to call this Win 2019 static, because this is the one that's going to get the static IP. All right, the version, we're going to look for server 2019, which is right there, 64-bit, Windows 2019, 64-bit. And we're going to click Next. All right, memory size, this is the minimum. Again, what you want to kind of know is your host machine, the computer that you're working off of, how much RAM it has. If you don't know how much RAM your system has, you can, in Windows, you can pull up just a window, go to this PC, right click and go on to properties, and it will tell you, your processor, your RAM. I have a lot of RAM on my machine, so I have 48 gigs. I can give this server a lot more RAM. I'm going to do that. If you're stuck at 4 gigs, that's fine. Keep it at 2. All right, in that virtual machine. If you got 8, 2 will work fine too. 2 will work fine without a problem. But if you have the RAM to give to it, go ahead and do so. I'm going to up mine to 4, which will bring me to 4096. Again, only do that if you know you have enough RAM to do so. If there's any doubt, just keep it at 2048. All right, we are going to create a virtual hard disk. So we're going to create. We're going to switch that to VMDK. Now, why am I switching it to VMDK? VMDK is the de facto standard across all virtualization software. So it will also work with, say, VMware. So that's why I'm switching it to VMDK. All right. I want it to be dynamically allocated. Why I'm making it dynamically allocated is I'm going to tell the software, VirtualBox, to create a 60 gigabyte drive. However, it's not going to suck up 60 gigabytes. It's only going to use what it needs. And in this case, it'll come out to about maybe between 8 and 12 gigabytes. But it will grow to up to 60 if we let it. If I did fixed, it would block off 60 immediately, which if you're running and you have a limited amount of space, that's not really that good. So again, use dynamically allocated. And the file size, it recommends a minimum of 50. That's perfectly fine for this class. If you want to up it to 60, you can. That's what I'm going to do. But 50 will work. And we'll click create. And there's our Windows 2019 static. So we're going to do the same thing, except for the, we're going to name this one Win 2019 DHCP. So I'm going to go a little bit faster this time. 2019 DHCP. Windows 2019 64-bit. Next. Again, whatever is going to work for your system. New. VMDK. Dynamic. 60. All right. And last, we're going to create our Fedora machine. So I'm just going to call this in Fedora. And it will automatically look and say, oh, Fedora 64-bit. That's right. Click next. Now I only need to give this one a gig, which is fine. I want to up it to, I'm going to again double it. So 2048. You don't have to. You can keep it at 1024. That's perfectly fine. If you have a problem running these machines, you can run them one at a time a lot of times, unless we're doing something between two machines. And that will be on a lab by lab assignment basis. After the second or third lab, you can use the NetLab credentials that I gave you earlier in the class, or will be giving you in the class, and you can log into NetLab and you can start using that for subsequent labs. There's a couple of gotchas throughout the labs. I will outline those in announcements on a week-by-week basis, and you can always come back into the virtual environment to do this and get around those gotchas that are in NetLab. The reason we have those gotchas in NetLab is because they have the NetLab environment sequestered to where it does not have internet access for whatever reason. So you can't do things like Windows updates. You can't get sources for your Linux server. You can't surf on the internet from these servers. So it's a little tedious. But if you have a limited amount of space on your machine at home, or you're restricted on your machine at home for processor, RAM, etc., of course, use NetLab and you can get through these assignments just as good. All right, so we're going to create that hard disk. Going to make that VMDK. It's going to be dynamic. You only need 8 gigs. I'm going to up it to 20. You don't have to up it to 20. You can keep it at 8. It's perfectly fine. You can do everything in here. I'm just going to give mine a little bit more space. All right, so those are the 3 servers that we're going to be using throughout the class. Now, we need to load the operating systems on these. So I'm going to start with the Windows machines. I'm going to go here to the Windows 2019 static machine. And I'm going to go to the settings. All right. And I'm going to go to storage. And then I'm going to click on this CD DVD icon here. I'm going to go to and select live CD DVD. And then I'm going to click on this disk icon here. And I'm going to click on choose a disk file. And I'm going to find that Windows ISO that I downloaded. That long, clunky one that I got from the Microsoft site. And I'm gonna click open. And now it's ready to go. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other Windows server. Settings, storage, the empty DVD, check mark the live CD DVD, click on the disk to the right, choose a file, and choose that Windows 2019 server ISO again. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and go to the Fedora machine. Click OK, get out of that, go to the Fedora machine. Same thing, settings, storage. Click on the empty DVD. Click on the DVD icon, or check mark the live CD, I should say. Then click on the icon, choose a file. This time we're going to choose the Fedora ISO file, the Fedora ISO. Don't choose a Windows, choose the Fedora one for the Fedora server. Click open, click OK. Now, all these are set up to install, okay? So we're going to do this Windows servers first. And all we got to do is click on Start. We click on Start. We should get another window that pops up. Right. And it's going to load and it's going to start installing. All these up here, you can start clicking on the X's. Those are just, little warnings. All right. So again, moving through the lab manual, I am here. We're all caught up. So we're done with all of the VirtualBox stuff, and we're going to continue on with the rest of the lab. So I'm going to go through these windows here really quick on installation and going through to the creation of the password for the administrator, which is step 12. Please note this password right there. You should, I suggest that you make that your password on your Windows servers. So if you have questions or if you ever come to office hours, I can help you. But if you don't, you want to make it something your own, that's fine. Just don't forget it. All right, so back to VirtualBox. We're going to go ahead and click Next. Install now. All right, very important. We need to make sure that you check the standard edition desktop experience. That's the second one, not the one that comes up highlighted, but the second one. If you choose the one that's highlighted, it'll install. You'll have no GUI. You will have no desktop. It will install to command line, and you'll have to do everything in PowerShell. It's not fun. Click Next. So desktop experience. Make sure you get that desktop experience. Click Next. Accept your EULA. Click Next. This is a custom install. It will detect the hard disk. Just make sure it's selected. Click Next. And it will go through. Now, I'm going to repeat this process for the other Windows machine. I can do that while this is running. So I'm going to go back to VirtualBox. Now, if you have a limited amount of space, a limited amount of resources on your laptop or PC, don't do this. Don't do what I'm about ready to do. I'm running a nice gaming computer, a lot of RAM, an i7, octa-core, dual thread. So I have 16 CPUs. I can do this. It's not even gonna, hiccup. But if you are running an older PC or something like that, do not try this at home. Do these one at a time. But in order for me to save a little bit of time, I'm going to do the DHCP one as well. So I'm going to click Start. And let it come up. What I should do is probably point this to a different ISO. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this pause where it's at. All right, and I go back to the other one. All right, I have to be careful with this because since I'm pulling all this from one file, it's going to take some time. But I can at least get through this because this is going to be resident in memory. Kind of want to wait for this to complete before I move on to the install. It's almost done. There we go. Once it gets to installing updates, I know I'm good because that's all right. I'm gonna go ahead and click on that. So when it goes to restarting, you can go ahead and click restart now. If it goes back and press CD to boot from CD or DVD, ignore that. Do not press a key. Do not press a key. And just let it boot. All right, so again, desktop experience. I know I'm jumping around between both of these. That's okay. I'll just go faster if you do it this way. Custom install. It's the same process. All right, let's go over to our static Windows server. It's going to reboot again, it looks like. And we'll let it come up to its desktop. There we go. And this is where we put that password in. That again, that password. Oops, get the right word file here. Capital C, capital S, capital T, CCC 2022 exclamation point. And type it in twice. And click finish. And that's all there is. All right. So to get into the VM, you need to hit Control-Delete. But if you did that, you'd actually, especially if you're on a Windows machine, you'll bring up your screen on your host computer. So for VirtualBox, for VMware, I know that is Control-Alt-Insert. I'm not sure what it is for VirtualBox. I can look that up. But if you go here to Input Keyboard, you can insert Control-Alt-Delete, which is, host plus delete. I don't know what the host key is. But if you do that, it'll bring it up. Put in that password, CST-CCC 2022 exclamation point, and that will log you in for the first time. As that is doing that, let's go back to our other server and see how we're doing here. Looks like it's finishing up. That's good. All right, go ahead and click yes on your network. You'll notice that you don't have internet access. We're going to fix that. So if you come up with that problem, if you don't get this sign right here, that's okay. What's going to happen is it may have gotten, for me anyway, that it may come up for you just fine. If it does, ignore this step. But I'm running VMware as well. So what I need to do is I need to check my IP stack. We'll get into this more in week 3, I believe. So I'm going to run command. I don't know why the command interpreter is not coming up. Windows PowerShell, computer management. Computer management. Control panel. No, that's inconvenient. Let me fix this real quick. PC, C, Windows, System 32. There. For some reason, I'm not getting a command prompt. I'm going to go ahead and create a shortcut. Put that on my desktop. That is annoying. There. Now, my IP address, 10.02.15. Remember I told you that you might get the 10 address, that's fine. Why I am not getting internet access is my default gateway 10.0.2.2. There's something wrong with that. Oh wait, no, it's not. It's not my default gateway. It's my DNS server. See, my DNS server is 192.168.1.1. It's getting that from somewhere, which is incorrect. So what I need to do is I need to go to network and internet. Let me start over. So if I right click on the network item here and go open network and internet settings, Ethernet, change adapter options, right click, properties, Internet Protocol version 4, properties. We need to change our IP address anyway. Remember, we needed to do it to that last octet to where this one's .200 from our network stack here. I told you up all the way up here. Change it to the last octet. It'll be 200 for the Windows static server. All right, we're gonna do that right here. And that is outlined here. So we're logged in. I actually may have told you how to get there a different way. And but we eventually get up to this picture right here. One second. All right. All right. Back to VirtualBox. So our IP is 10.0.2.2. We need to change it to 10.0.2.200. Same subnet mask, 255.255.255.0. Same default gateway, 10.0.2.2, which is in there. We're going to change our DNS servers as such, 10.4.2.2.2 and 8.8.8.8. And that's going to fix my DNS issue. Okay. And we're going to click close. And that's going to restart everything. And you can see that that warning went away. So our first Windows server is good to go. That's it. So take a picture, take a screenshot, and put that at the end. We'll put that over here on my other screen, come back to it. Other Windows server, the DHCP Windows server, same admin password, capital CST, little c, 2022 exclamation point. Finish. Input keyboard, insert Control Alt Delete, log in with that password. we have to change the DNS settings on this one. We can keep this one DHCP. That's perfectly fine. But we're going to come up and we're going to have an issue with our DNS as well. I am. So you can do this if you want to, or if you have problems. So I'm going to open network settings, Ethernet, change adapter options, right click, properties, Internet Protocol version 4, properties, keep this the same, change this radio button and put that 4.2.2.2. And 8.8.8.8. Click OK. Close. Should come up. Interesting. All right, worked on this one. Wonder why I can't get to the internet. I can get to the internet. There it goes. Just took a second. All right, so I have full connectivity. This one is done. Go ahead and close all these out. And let's just set this one to the side over here. All right, last but not least, our Fedora server. So again, you can shut those two down if you don't have a lot of spare capacity, resources. You can shut those servers down. Like I'll shut this one down. You can just come here, right click on the window in the lower left-hand corner, shut down and shut down. And that's it. Now turn it off basically. All right. So I'm going to do that with my other one too, just so it goes faster. And the last thing we have to do is install our Fedora. So we set that ISO up previously for the CD DVD to point to it. We're going to click start. And we're going to go through the installation process for Fedora. And click in there, and then you want to install. So you got to like use the up or down arrow really fast, otherwise it will go to that test media. Go ahead and up arrow to install Fedora 36 and hit enter. Go. This will take a few minutes. Linux installation goes so much faster than Windows. While that is finishing up, he's going to finish up fast. Good. All right. So back in here, I finished up the Windows pieces. And now we get to, I'm here on this step here, installing Fedora step 3. I'm going to go through these steps here, and I'm going to end up after a reboot at the login. So let's go ahead and get that done. So English, United States, continue. All right, we need to set our installation destination. It detects our hard disk. Let's make sure that that is highlighted. Click done. Come on. All right, we'll click time and date. I'm gonna switch this to the West Coast. Done. There we go. Wow, I had to do it twice. I don't know why. And then we're going to click on the root account, and we're going to set enable our root account and set that password with that CST password again. Capital C, capital S, capital T, CCC 2022 ! And confirm it. Meaning type it again. Click done. That's it. That's all you got to do for now. Click begin installation. This will take a couple of minutes, so I'm going to pause here real fast while it's doing this. Okay, so after that installation completes for Fedora, what we're going to do is click on Reboot System. And that will bring us up to, hopefully, this login. All right. So you don't have to do anything here. Do not. Let's go ahead and let it boot. Awesome. Sorry about my dogs. All right, it's going to boot. All right, let's do this. Machine settings. You may have to do this. You may have to go back to that storage, uncheck that live CD, click OK, and then just on machine, we can reset it. Still not doing that. All right. Power off the machine. Come over here to Fedora. Troubleshoot this here real fast. And go to settings, storage. Remove disk from virtual drive. So we get it empty. So I did here again, remove disk from virtual drive. I clicked on that, click OK. Do the same thing with my other two servers as well. So storage, uncheck the live CD, remove disk from virtual drive, settings, storage, uncheck live CD under the DVD, and then remove disk from virtual drive. Click OK. Now, let's see if that fixed it. Go back to Fedora and reboot it. Yep, sure did. So go ahead and click hit enter, and it will boot. Sometimes working with VMs is a little tricky, but what we had to do was remove that. And there we go. There we're now back at here, step 11. So that's a good place to take your screenshot for this. All right. Now we have to do a couple of things after we do the reboot. We need to log in as root, And then under step 14 here, there's a few things that we need to do. So let's move this over the side. You can see that side by side here. So I'm going to log in, root, that 2022 bang. Excuse me. Let's do an if config. And we'll see, you need to make note of what our interface is named. So my interface is named ENP0S3. Here, I think it's named like ENS33, something like that. And you see that my IP address is 10.0.2.15. Well, I don't want it to be 10.0.2.15. I need it to be 10.0.2.210 per the documentation. All right. Let's go ahead and look at setting our host name and our domain, and then we're going to set up our NIC to where it should work with VirtualBox. Again, you follow the document if you're using VMware, works just fine. A little bit different when you're using VirtualBox. So let's go ahead and host name. Fedora server.fakedomain.local. Then let's look at our named devices in MCLI. All right, so you can see here that that's that ENP0S3. That's the one we're going to be working with. So we're going to type out these three commands next. In MCLI connection, modify, and for me it's ENP0S3. IPv4 addresses 10.0. Shoot. 10.0.2.210 /24. Stop that, buddy. No. Okay. Sorry, dog's going a little crazy. Come on. Never ends. This is what happens when you have a 7-month-old German Shepherd puppy. They vie for your attention all the time and make things challenging. All right, so that's our first command. Again, I appreciate y'all's patience. And it looks like I'm goofed up. Oh, IPv4 dot addresses. Amazing what a period will do. Do the next one in MCLI connection, modify ENP0S3 IPv4 dot DNS, and we're just going to change it to 8.8.8.8. And the last one in MCLI connection, modify ENP0S3 IPv4 dot DNS dash search fake domain dot local. Then we're going to go down here to the last page, You can see the commands here that we need to run. In MCLI, connection modify, ENP0S3, IPv4 dot method space manual. There we go. Then we got to down it and bring it back up in MCLI connection down ENP0S3. So it's going to deactivate it and use up arrow and change that down to up, which is the last command there. Second to last command. MCLI device show ENP0S3. Go. And lo and behold, our IP has changed, our DNS has changed. You can do a manual check here just by doing a ping 10.0.2.210. It's alive. Let's ping our gateway, which is .2, I believe. It's alive. Let's ping. Oh, we have to change our gateway. So let's do a route. So we have no route. No problem. If this happens to you, simply just do a quick Google search. To set default route Fedora. Okay, there's a lot of ways you can do this. You set a static route or a default gateway. Here we go. So I have no route to delete. We just need to add default gateway. I don't think that's how that's done though. You want to do that route add. So we'll do both. In .0.2.2 in my case. Now if we do the route, it's there. And it works. Control C. Now let's just try to ping by name. Google.com. And we are getting replies from Google.com. That's it. All right. So that finishes up the lab 1. The last thing that you have to do is answer the questions here in number 25 and give me a screenshot, any screenshot of your servers running, whether it's the login screen, the desktops. I want one from each server, and would like that in here as well. So you can use snipping tool, you can take a screenshot, whatever, answer these, save the lab manual and upload the lab manual, or just the screenshots and question 25 in a separate Word document. That's fine too, to the assignment, and you're done. And that's lab 1. If you have questions, please feel free to ping me. Hopefully this solidifies and makes things a little bit more simpler for you, because I know installing an operating system for the first time, much less first 3 times, can be difficult, but this gives you kind of a step-by-step for that. So thank you. And until next time, I'm Dr. Brown. We'll see you around.